Good afternoon. Many of our friends and families have longed for good news from San Mateo County regarding these fires, and that moment has arrived. We can now reopen some of these neighborhoods that were recently evacuated. To clarify, Pescadero Beach area, Pescadero Creek County Park, Pescadero, San Gregorio, La Honda, Red Barn, and Langley Hill, Russian Ridge Open Space, Skylonda, and Middleton Track. Additionally, Portola Redwood State Parks and Portola Heights is also open. CAL FIRE and the local firefighters have done a phenomenal job with holding back the fires and defending these towns. This would not have been possible without the support of the community. All of the fire personnel, our mutual aid partners, and the support staff that's made this possible. CHP Redwood City is assisting us with new road closures at the following locations: State Route 1 at Gazos Creek, Cloverdale Road at Butano Cutoff, Pescadero Creek Road at Butano Cutoff, Pescadero Creek Road at Burns Valley Road. Those are the new 4 road closures. Additionally, we have doubled up on patrol efforts and security checks moving forward. We want to make sure that we have additional personnel in this area to assist with a safe return home for those neighbors. Evacuees can check online to determine if their home is accessible by going to the following website: www.smcgov.org/SMC-wildfire, one word, -recovery. We'll have that information listed on our social media as well for those of you who didn't catch it. Evacuees can also call 211, where we have over 150 different interpreters who are available to assist with translation. Evacuees temporarily housed in hotels should not check out until confirming that their house or their address is listed in this zone. Assistance can be found in all of your lobbies through the American Red Cross. For large animal assistance, please call Laura and Robin Camozzi at 650-450-0520 or 650-450-0516. We apologize for any miscommunications over the past 24 hours. We've been working diligently to make sure that you got home as quickly and safely as possible. And we tried to get these orders in place as quickly as we could after receiving them from fire. In summary, as of noon and this message right now, the general areas of La Honda, San Gregorio, and Pescadero are now open. Due to continued fire operations in the other areas, the other orders are still in effect. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done there, and we're working diligently with the county to assess repairs and make sure that the infrastructures are in place for those residents to make a safe return home as well. We will let you know when other areas not listed here today will be available to return home. And again, we thank you so much for all of your patience and cooperation. I will now take any questions.
So the people going back, residents only going to be checking IDs at the checkposts, or for police to check IDs of people to make sure they're residents that are going back in? Is that what's going to happen?
Sure. So the question was whether or not we're going to be checking IDs. And the road closures that were initially in place, such as Highway 1 and 84, and then 84 and Skyline, those areas will now be open and back to business as usual, so resume normal traffic in those areas. And the only other traffic or road closures, will be at the 4 locations that I just mentioned. So we're just moving the road closures from where they were to another location to provide security for the areas that are still within the burn area.
So I'm sorry, but are people going to have to prove that they're residents to get in? Because how are you going to prevent looters from just getting in there?
We have increased patrols. So the question was how we're going to be able to prevent looters from going in there. Right now, the information is all public. And we do have we've doubled up on all of our patrol and security checks for that area to assist with all of the neighbors who are going back to that evacuation site. So we are there to assist everyone and make sure that their safe return is free of any issues.
You generalized to, what was it, La Honda, Pescadero, and where else?
Yeah, so the general areas of La Honda, San Gregorio, and Pescadero. The previous areas that were listed on a warning, now the order has been lifted, so
As of noon, right?
as of right now.
Oh, right, that's right. Thank you.
You didn't mention Lomamar, is that still?
Yeah, Lomamar is still in an area that's not open yet, so we're still assessing the damage in that area and working with county to make sure that the infrastructures are in place for those residents in the Lomamar area.
Last I heard, there were 11 structures damaged or destroyed. Is that still correct for San Mateo County?
Sure. The question was how many structures are damaged in San Mateo County, and right now 11 is the last confirmed information that we have, but we definitely will be working quickly now that the other areas are open to assess what damaged areas and structures might be in place there.
So what does the fact that you're able to open these areas say about so how did that come about? Like why are you able to do that now? Is it because of the work of the firefighters, or the weather? What's the reason?
Sure. So the question is, what's the reason we're able to open up these towns now? And it's based on the recommendation that we received from CAL FIRE, and the local crews in La Honda and the local CAL FIRE crews there have done such a great job with, like I said, holding back this fire and also addressing and protecting the towns that are there. So we feel confident, like I said, after getting this recommendation from CAL FIRE, to be able to let the neighbors back into those areas without creating any kind of danger or risk.
So do you have an outlook on the other areas, like time frame possible? Is that days or weeks, or what do you think?
It's hard to assess since that would primarily be a fire question, but just based on the information that we have and the fact that they are in more so a burned area, it's probably going to be a long haul. So unfortunately, we don't have an exact number to give you, but we want to update people as quickly as we can, and that information will be found most readily available on our social media or through the Sheriff's app.
Okay, what are the issues in those areas that you're still concerned about that need to be dealt with?
Well, there is still an active fire happening in that area. Like I said, the fire personnel would be better to speak on it, but the fire personnel have done a really good job with protecting the towns that we mentioned here today to feel confident enough with allowing those neighbors to come back in. So there's a lot of things that still need to take place, a lot of work that needs to be done to allow the neighbors in the actual burn areas to return home safely.
And you will have checkpoints there for people to check in first, right?
Yes, we're not allowing anybody to go into the burned areas. So those road closures that we mentioned earlier are hard closures. And just the same as what we saw before for the areas of La Honda, we were not letting anybody in there whether they had ID or not. It was a hard closure that CHP is helping us with.
So just to be clear, the areas that are still under evacuation orders are all hard closed?
Correct. The question was whether or not the areas that are still under evacuation orders are still a hard close, and that is correct. We are not letting anyone pass the road closures that we mentioned here today into the burn areas.
Sorry if you answered this earlier. Are the people who are able to go back to their homes in these areas still under an evacuation warning? Or
It's still so the question was whether or not the people in the closed areas are still under an evacuation warning or an order, and right now it's still an order.
And what about the people who are able to go back in?
The people who are able to go back in, all of the restrictions have been lifted, so they are able to return home safely, yeah. So the towns of La Honda, San Gregorio, Pescadero, and the outlying towns surrounding those areas, those residents are all free to go home at this time.
Because they lifted that in the evacuation order in Morgan Hill, but told them that the evacuation warning was still in effect.
Yeah, per the information that I received from CAL FIRE this morning, that wasn't some of the information that I received. So it's the evacuation order has now been lifted. There's no longer a warning, But people do need to be cognizant that this is still an active fire that's going on, and obviously if we get any kind of extreme weather changes, that could change. So we still want people to be ready, but honestly, if we live here in California, people should always be ready for this type of environment.
Can,
All right.
can anybody go into that area now then? Is it like completely open? People can go to San Gregorio, Pescadero, like people that don't live there?
Yeah, areas not list. The question was whether or not people can freely travel throughout this area. Any of the areas that we listed that were not included in the road closures are back to normal traffic. All right.
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Have you looting or anything in those areas?
Sure, great question. The question was whether or not we've had any looting in San Mateo County, and we've had a lot of personnel, volunteers, as well as law enforcement who have been doing regular checks 24 hours a day since this incident started, doing safety and security checks of these neighborhoods, and we're happy to report that we have not had any crime reports or additional reports of suspicious people or looting happening in this area. Great. Without any further questions, thank you all very much, and we're very thankful to be able to announce this news. Again, all this information will be available on the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office app and our social media platforms. Thank you.
Thanks.